Good morning. Welcome to this Tuesday edition of Shields and Arrows. So glad to have you. Now, today's show is going to be a little bit different. Yesterday, we talked about a whole bunch of different things. What I've got is one major point, and then we'll have a little bit of fun discussing the current state of college sports and specifically college football and why it matters, what it means culturally and values-wise for young people. And then we are going to tease a discussion about a TV mini-series that is kind of popular right now called Adolescence, and why there is a kernel of truth in a story that is fiction and not accurate. And that's why it's a problem. Because when there is a little bit of truth sprinkled into something, and there is an underlying foundation there, but when it's built upon, or when you build upon a kernel of truth, incorrect and really inaccurate narratives, that's the problem. That's where the deception comes in. So I'm going to talk about it, but not today, probably tomorrow. So you have to stay tuned for that. I haven't watched that show, but I do know the basic premise of it, okay? Now, I want to talk about one major point today. You know, I looked at the news and there's nothing interesting that is just extremely fascinating to me. We're seeing what's going to go on with Iran. And yes, I say Iran. I don't say Iran, as some people do. We're American. We speak cowboy, and so it's Iran. I don't know what kind of deal they're considering. I hope that there's no nuclear deal for them, because I don't trust them. I don't know anything about the tariffs. The only other major story that is interesting to me right now, primarily, is the Carmelo Anthony, Austin Metcalf story, in which Austin Metcalf was murdered. I'll use the word allegedly, but Carmelo Anthony has admitted to it, and the story is, hey, it's self-defense. I am following that. He's been given bond, and his bond was drastically reduced from $1 million to, I think, $250,000. And he has now been granted house arrest as well. So I think he's now out on bond and he is at home. And it's just a lot to the story that I don't think is really, it's not going to be beneficial for us to talk a whole lot about it right now. We just got to wait and see. Is justice going to be done? Now, if there's some evidence, if it's true that he was responding in self-defense. Now, I know that so many are already trying to say it's impossible because he brought a knife to a track meet. I'm a little bit old school, okay? I just am. When I was in school, I carried a pocket knife everywhere I went, okay? I know for modern people, that's very hard to comprehend. Now, with that being said, I mean, a pocket knife is much more of a simple tool, right? I mean, you keep it in your pocket. It's a small knife. To kill someone with a pocket knife, I mean, just to stab them in the chest, I mean, the blades are only a couple inches long, okay? And it's just, what kind of knife are you carrying? You know, that's kind of an interesting thing as well. I mean, are you carrying something that's really just designed specifically for harming someone? Because truth is, I mean, your folding fixed blade knife is like a tool. Like, I think I have, can I show this on YouTube live stream? Like, here, like, this is just it's a tool, what it is, all right? I don't know. Are we allowed to do this, or are we about to get kicked off of YouTube? I have no idea. If we get kicked off of YouTube, go over to markbazeministries.org. But, you know, here is a simple tool. And this is a little bit of a larger pocket knife compared to some that you would see. But, I don't know. I've got large pockets, I guess. I don't know. But the truth is, a lot of it's going to come down to the details. What kind of knife was he carrying? As far as I know, we don't have any video, like eyewitness testimony of we have eyewitnesses, I believe, but we don't have video of what happened. I'm not going to speak much to it right now. I feel like they are being a lot easier on Carmelo Anthony than maybe what they should be. But hey, let's just wait. Let's see if justice is done, right? When the evidence is presented, we know the whole story. But right now, from what we know, it seems like he's getting treated with kid gloves, and he's 17 years old. You got to start taking responsibility for your own actions at some point. All right, those are my thoughts on that. I'm not going to speculate much more. What I want to talk about today is a topic that I am sure will infuriate any covenant theologian, Calvinist, so on, that stumbles across this. And I really do believe this, okay? It is my position, okay, that dispensationalists exhibit stronger faith than covenant theology, all right? That's my position. Dispensationalists exhibit stronger faith. Now, there's a couple different reasons why I think this is true, okay? Now, here's what I'm not saying. I'm not saying that covenant theologians or those who hold a covenant theology are what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not saying they're lost, right? There's a lot of people who disagree with me theologically who are believing in the shed blood of Christ, trusting in that. His blood, resurrection, that's the means of salvation, right? We can't work to earn our salvation. We can't labor to merit our righteous standing before God. It's all by the work of Christ, okay? But I will say that, I'm seeing some comments here, just going back to the pocket knife thing. I like Kurt's comment there. I showed off Bowie knives I made in high school. Teachers didn't care because they knew me. Well, and that's probably because, Kurt, you were a respectful young man and you did not get into violent kind of trouble, criminal kind of trouble. And that's one reason why smaller schools are often much more old school, I guess, to use not trying to make a pun there, but smaller schools are kind of more how things used to be. It's probably that, the parents knew your mom and dad and everything, and they weren't worried about it because you were a respectful kid. It's different times, right? And I mean, Bowie knives in the country do have a purpose. I mean, you can do a lot of things: skin a fish, skin a deer. Now, getting back to the topic at hand. So, first of all, let's talk about some of the distinguishing features between Let's talk about the distinguishing features between the covenant theology view and the dispensational view. The covenant theology view is going to essentially say that all the Old Testament promises are fulfilled today. That's going to be a major covenant theology view, for the most part. Covenant theologians are not really going to hold to any kind of view of a future temple in Israel that Christ reigns from, okay? They're not going to take that position, all right? So that's their handling of the Old Testament. When you read the Old Testament scriptures are already fulfilled in the age that we live in today, okay? They may use terms that some would maybe go so far to say that, like, we're the third temple, right? And then, of course, that goes into the kingdom, right? So the kingdom is fulfilled today. Christ is reigning while seated at the right hand of God the Father. Now, the dispensationalist, and dispensationalism does have an umbrella, and there may be, to a degree, covenant theology somewhat has an umbrella. There are some covenant theologians who would say there is some kind of future for Israel. Somehow Israel does kind of get put back in the mix. Kurt, if you're with us today, Kurt's our friend, and he is our friend. I appreciate him because he's a man who studies. Kurt is a Church of Christ. Kurt, is there any debate within the Church of Christ concerning a future for Israel? Is that much in your eschatology? If you could just comment so I know where you're coming from. But covenant theology does have a little bit of a window there concerning, hey, is there going to be a future day when a remnant of the Jews of Israel does kind of come into the fold? And the reason why there are some who would, pay credence to that, give acknowledgement to that, is because, very famous, you've got Paul's words in Romans 11, which I really don't know. You have to do a lot of spiritual work probably to get around it. Verse 26, "For I would not, brethren, that ye should be ignorant of this mystery, lest ye should be wise in your own conceits, that blindness in part is happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in." I mean, there's probably some who would, spiritualize that, say that we are the true Israel. They would maybe appeal to Romans 9, not all who are of Israel are Israel. And then you get to verse 26, "So all Israel shall be saved. As it is written, there shall come out of Zion the deliverer, shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob." So there would be maybe some covenant theologians who would give some kind of ground and say, yeah, there is, to a degree, some kind of future for Israel. Kurt says, "I don't know anyone personally, but there are premillennialism in some congregations. Just not sure on Israel beliefs." Okay, Church of Christ does. There are some that have that future literal kingdom with Christ's return to establish the kingdom on earth. So there is a little bit of window there. And truth be told, Church of Christ does have a kind of a dispensational framework built in which, there was a time in which God was dealing with the nation of Israel, and now He is working through the Church of Christ. Jacob, a response here, "I've never heard of any debate in Churches of Christ about a future for Israel. They hold strongly to the idea that Israel has been completely, utterly, and finally rejected by God." Okay, so maybe that there's Jacob's experience there with Church of Christ. So like I said, there's a little bit of room kind of in different areas for a future for Israel. So there's the covenant theology perspective, right? Essentially saying that Israel is done, okay? And you can see that today. I mean, if you get on like X, social media, and you see a lot of the covenant theology, which most of them are Calvinist, and Church of Christ, as far as I know, most Church of Christ are not Calvinists. Like Kurt's not Calvinist. We have that in common. But Calvinists heavily buy into covenant theology, and also Calvinists do have there's a lot of disdain for Israel amongst Calvinist and covenant theology. There really is. Now, this kind of has, I mean, you can get way off into, Jewish space laser stuff, right? And all sorts of wild conspiracy theories, right? Israel is behind the Kennedy assassination and, they're the boogeyman for a lot of things. And there's a little bit of overlap there between the political conspiracy theories and the covenant Calvinist doctrine, right? But there is a lot of disdain for them because it is the idea of, hey, God is done with Israel. There is no future for Israel. We have replaced Israel. The promises are fulfilled in us. Lasers, Paul says. Yeah. Oh, goodness. This show I'm showing knives. We're talking about space lasers. We may get flagged today, folks. I have no clue. If we get kicked off, go to worshipfire, markbaseministries.org, and you can continue to watch the show live. So, all that to be said, there very much is the no future for Israel. Now, let's compare that to a dispensational view, specifically a dispensational view that does not believe all of the Old Testament has been fulfilled yet. And this is one reason why I would say I do think that there is a stronger faith in the dispensational view. I'm not saying the strength of one's faith is not the metric for salvation. If you believe in the gospel, you believe in the gospel, right? And we handle James correctly because, they would say, well, even the demons believe and they shudder. Yeah, but demons are not saved by grace through faith. You're saved by grace through faith. So, with all that to be said, the dispensationalist says, there is still a future day in which Israel will be restored to the nation it's supposed to be. There will be a future temple. There will be the gathering of them into the land, and the Messiah will reign as king, right? Son of David, reigning on the throne of David. Now, I will admit, it's hard to see, right? It's hard to picture a day, for one, in which devout Jews would accept Christ. I mean, I know there are some Messianic Jews. I get that. I understand. But when you think about the major Jewish, figures, and I'm probably leaving some out, I'm just thinking about the ones that affect me, right? The ones that are actually, I would say, truly Jewish, like actually believe in the God of the Tanakh, right? The Hebrew Bible. Who adhere to the 39 books that we adhere to of the Old Testament. They just reject the New Testament. Dennis Prager, Ben Shapiro, and and others like that, very much more orthodox. There's a number of rabbis who are pretty famous as very conservative, and they have an appreciation for Christianity because, at least Christianity does hold to a lot of the same values of conservative Judaism, right? We're going to use that term, rabbinical Judaism, if you will. And yet even those that we would call much more conservative, have no interest in accepting Jesus as their Messiah, right? And they're very much convinced, no, this is not the case. He is not our promised king. He was, Ben Shapiro, about the most I've ever heard him give is, hey, he's a good teacher. And here's the amazing thing. If you really do take the Gospels in their context and understand that Jesus, during his earthly ministry, was ministering to men under the law, Israel under the law, he was a good teacher of the law. I mean, if you followed the Sermon on the Mount, if you took all the commands of the Sermon on the Mount and you followed them wholeheartedly, you would keep the Mosaic law. You would, plain and simple. Mark chapter 7, the idea that he declared all foods clean, that was what's the word I'm looking for? It's a interpretation. The words "he declared all foods clean" do not appear in the Greek at all. The King James Version gets that part correct, and other versions as well that don't insert their interpretation into that Mark chapter 7 verse that so many know. But it's hard to picture. Like I said, Jews accepting Jesus as their Messiah. Now, let's broaden the scope beyond conservative Orthodox Judaism, okay? Let's think about, what I guess like Bernie Sanders, and isn't Bernie Sanders, I think, Jewish? So many others, right, that you can think of. Isn't George Soros? Is George Soros Jewish? Yeah. George Soros. If anybody was the Antichrist, right? Picture them holding to the biblical teachings that Jesus is the Messiah. A lot of Jews today are atheist. If you look in Israel, it's not like Israel is Israel's not the shining city on the hill of the world today, people. There is a lot of I don't know, a lot of sin going on. Some of the very things probably that Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed for is going on in Israel, because a lot of Jews are very much tolerant of modern social progressive ideology. So as an ethnicity, yeah, I get it. It's hard to picture how in the world are the Jews of the world at some point as a nation, and I really do mean that, as a nation, and not all of them, right? But the ones who come back to the covenant, come back to, and I'm talking from a dispensational view, right? Because we're comparing and contrasting. Covenant theology says God's done with Israel. Dispensationalism says there's a future day when they will be repentant and brought back into the fold with the days of the tribulation. But there to be a day when Israel as a people, as a nation, as an identity says, we will worship the one true God. And then furthermore, I think it's very clear in the days of the tribulation, many Jews will die for the testimony of Christ. I mean, you can read that, like if we read in Revelation, and once again, I take Revelation to be a future day, certainly. I know not everyone would, but I do. Let's see. I want to show you a certain verse, and it's maybe Revelation. I've been studying it for a while now, so it's getting to a point where it's all kind of running together. Maybe I need to do a word search instead. Maybe that would be a little bit better. Maybe it is chapter 13. Let me go ahead and do a word search, because I want to make this point here. If we're holding, Revelation to be future day, which I think so, future, literal, testimony. I'm going to do a search for that, because I know that word appears in the King James. And it's Revelation... There's a number of ones I could probably do. But I'm going to go ahead and reference Revelation 12:7. And the dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which kept the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. And those are the days during the tribulation. Even I think a preterist would agree with me, someone who holds to an allegorical view of Revelation, that whenever that's going on, hey, this is the seed who is bearing the testimony of Jesus Christ, right? I just think it's future. I think it's future. I think it's literal. All the events you're reading about the seals and the earthquake, the famine, you name it, the waters turning to blood. Those are all literal things in my view. And so, look, they have the testimony of Jesus Christ. I think that in that day, the people will realize, thank you, Luke. That's, and 12:11 as well. Yeah. Revelation 12:11. Thanks, Luke. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. They loved not their lives unto the death. Yeah. So with that being said, there is going to be that future day. I mean, when you've got, not only do you have Israel, Jews, being believers in God, but they're believing in Christ and they're dying for the testimony of Jesus Christ. I mean, that's hard to picture, isn't it? And I think that's, covenant theology, I feel like they have a lot of confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is when you you make an observation and you just assume that supports your doctrinal position. I think they look at the world and they say, okay, I can find passages in the Bible, and you can, that, God speaks to "Lo of me, they're not my people." You can find passages that, Jesus says that this kingdom will be taken from you and given to another nation, right? And you kind of put those things together and you say, yeah, obviously. I mean, of course. And I think that if you're just looking at things from that perspective, you'd think, of course, God's done with Israel. Look, none of those who are claiming to be of the stock of Abraham, of the actual bloodline, are really acknowledging God. There's just a handful, right, who call themselves Messianic Jews. And I think there's a little bit of a variance there in exactly what Messianic Jews hold to. And I don't know if I would say it's entirely our gospel of grace exactly. I'd have to do more reading about Messianic Judaism and how that works. But yeah, I mean, of course, you look at the world and you would have a lot of confirmation bias. You would think this supports your view. And so the matter of faith, faith is let me go to the famous verse, because I don't have it memorized. Now, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Right? What position exhibits a faith that's strong? Now, I'm not saying that your faith means you're right. I mean, atheists have a ton of faith that somehow the Big Bang can happen, and somehow we evolve from monkeys, and monkeys evolved from whatever. I mean, that's a whole lot of faith, and that doesn't mean they're correct, right? But if your faith is built upon biblical positions, and I think even the covenant theologians can agree, yeah, I see why somebody would be a dispensationalist. That's just because they're simple-minded and take the Bible too literally when it's not meant to be taken literally. So I think even a covenant theologian could acknowledge that. I could see how, if you are operating under the assumption that the Bible is not meant to be taken literally, and you're supposed to approach the Bible from a covenantal lens, so when you put on the covenant glasses, you start seeing covenant theology scattered throughout the entire Bible, I could see how you would become a covenant theologian. That makes sense. But if we're talking about the matter of faith, which view really does require a stronger confidence in taking the Bible for what it says? It'd be really tempting to just be a covenant theologian because, don't look like the Jews are really coming around. There's one or two every now and then that believe in Jesus. Hey, that's great. Like the ones I can think of off the top of my head. There's one I know of that has good doctrine in theology. I think because he was taught right division and he is Jewish. But Jewish in his ethnicity, right? But he understands the age of grace. But most Jewish affiliated Christians I know, they have some problems. I mean, like Andrew Klavan, he works at the Daily Wire with Ben Shapiro. Andrew Klavan's a Jew, Jewish in his ethnicity. When you hear him talk about Jesus, though, and he says he's a Christian, he said he converted to Christianity, man, he is mystical as the day is long. Sorry, I noticed a little bit of hair popping up there. We don't have our, hair and makeup with us today. We never actually have hair and makeup with us today. Yeah, but Andrew Klavan, his theology, it's very mystical. And I'm worried. I don't know that Andrew Klavan's, I don't know that I'm going to see him in the sweet by and by, if you know what I mean. I don't know exactly what is he putting his confidence in. I know he believes in Jesus, but what do you believe about him? Do you believe that he showed you how to live, and so if you follow his instructions, then you're going to be saved? Or are you just trusting in his shed blood and resurrection, right? I think to look at the world today and say, I know it doesn't look like it. I know that Israel in large is in rejection of their Messiah. But one day, there will be a return to God and an acknowledgement that they killed their Messiah. Now, I think that's a view that exhibits a strong faith. Why do we believe it? Do we walk by faith or do we walk by sight? If I walk by sight, I would be very tempted to say, yeah, God's done with Israel. No hope for them, right? But I take the Bible literally. I take the Bible literally unless, I just saw Kurt's comment, logically you have only three possibilities, always literal, two never literal, or three sometimes literal. Kurt says, I'm number three, just as I am also. That was confusing. He says, I'm number three, and Kurt says he's number three as well. I think I would agree with that. Now, it depends on how we define literal, because literal just, it's a word that we need to maybe find a better word, which is sometimes I like to use the term plain reading. Literal just means what is the literature saying. And so there are times when the Bible is literal in it, like it's plain in its most direct sense. And then there's times when it's literal, but its literature is figurative, right? And we just have to discern between the two. So if we treat prophecy as literal, as this is clear information given, unless given some other reason otherwise, then we're going to take it for what it says. That's why I take Revelation very literally for what it says, unless it gives me reason otherwise. Like Revelation 13, I think, is a good example. Revelation 17 is a good example, which Revelation 13 would be as well. But Revelation 17, you got John has this very weird scene where he sees this woman. Sorry, Mom, I'm going to read a King James language here. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness. I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. I mean, that's quite a weird, bizarre scene, right? Who is this, right? What is he seeing? Actually, it's not even saying the King James word there, so I think maybe I'll be able to get away here. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. Right there, if we're just being literal there, we'd have to say, well, it simply means there's a woman and a beast, right? But we do pay attention to the literature, right? So as like Kurt was mentioning, we take the Bible literally. So is there any further information in that chapter that gives us clarification on what the does it give us any more clarification on what that woman and beast could represent? And as we go down here, verse 7, and the angel said unto me, wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carried her, which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns. So, with that being said, now I have my indication here, right? There's this woman and beast represents something, okay? There's a representation here. And so then he goes on, explains the beast that thou sawest was and is not, and yet is. And it all comes to tell us that, hey, he's a king. This is the Antichrist, and there's going to be 5 kings. One will fall, or one is not yet come. A lot of that's kind of hard for us to understand in this time. We speculate a little bit, but we can't know for certain. And it gives us the meaning of the woman, that she's Babylon, that great city, Babylon, the Great. And so, there's another area of which one demonstrates a stronger faith. I'm not talking about saving faith. I believe, I've got friends who are covenant theology holders. Now, I will say I'm concerned about some of them because I have heard them tell me that, I've heard some of them say, we are saved by enduring to the end. That's not our gospel. You will not be saved by enduring to the end. You're saved by Grace through faith in the shed blood and resurrection of Christ. That's the means, okay, folks? But there are some who hold to covenant theology who are trusting in the work of Christ alone, okay? Plain and simple. So we're not talking about, hey, I'm going to heaven, nanny, nanny, boo-boo, and you're not. What I'm talking about is which one does require a greater confidence that, yeah, the Bible says it, and that settles it, right? So Babylon. Babylon today is no city. There is no city of Babylon today. There's ruins of Babylon. Now, there would be some say, yes, the destruction of Babylon was prophesied in the Old Testament, and it has been destroyed, and so therefore it's fulfilled already. Quit worrying about it. The problem is I read about Babylon in Revelation. What do I do with that? Do I spiritualize the city? I mean, I could try. I could maybe say it's Rome, the Vatican, Washington, D.C. There may be some who would even try to say Jerusalem. I don't know. That'd be an interesting speculation there. But I'm just going to take it, in its plain reading, literal reading, and I think Babylon will be rebuilt one day. And somebody says to me, that's silly, Mark. It can't be rebuilt. It's not rebuilt. It's nothing but just ruins and wilderness over there right now. Yeah, you're right. If I walk by sight, my gut tells, or I don't know if I should use the word gut there, my eyes tell me, because I can't see with my gut, my eyes tell me, yeah, looks like there is no future Babylon. Babylon's done. So therefore, whatever Revelation's about, it can't be about Babylon, right? It's got to be something else. But I read it that there's a future day, right? I mean, if Revelation is, it is true, I think it is, and all of you would agree. And it's kind of neat today. I'm actually excited about having different people because we've got good Bible students of all different positions here listening to us. So, I mean, you all agree Revelation's true. The question comes down to, is Revelation already done? I mean, has it already been fulfilled? Or is it still future? Which I guess I would say, almost everybody would say Revelation 20. And, well, no, not 20. But Revelation 21 and 22, I guess all of you would agree that what's the word I'm looking for here? That would be future, right? A new heavens and new earth. Yeah, and Luke makes an interesting point there. I mean, 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 13, Peter talks about Babylon. I don't spiritualize that. A lot of people spiritualize it and say it's Rome. Luke, you probably heard it. I don't take it that way. I just say it's Babylon. So if we're really trying to butt these two views together, I don't know which one does exhibit, hey, I know how the world looks today, and my eyes tell me that, hey, Israel's not believing, hey, Babylon's not a city, you name it. You can fill in all sorts of different observations we can make. But then you say, but the Bible tells me this. I would encourage you at least a little bit. Could you do me this one favor, okay? At least consider the possibility, even if you're not buying into my dispensational view. And I'm not really even diving that much into right division, which is even the more controversial position that I take, where Paul is our apostle, and we live in the mystery age. But I would at least like you to consider this. A lot of people in Christianity have bought into the mainstream accepted scientific view of the world and how old it is, right? The earth is however many millions of years old. The sun is however many billions of years old, and all of those things, right? And evolution and all of that, the fossil record. I know that all of the experts are telling you that, at least the experts that are allowed to have a voice in academia. There's a lot of people who are experts who are not allowed to have a voice because they disagree with the mainstream narrative. I believe it's Dr. Ashton. He's a co-author of Evolution Impossible. You need to check out that book. It's very good. It's a short read, but it's very good. You should get it. I have it in my bookshelf over yonder. With that being said, I got distracted. I need to talk to Dr. Randy White about maybe having that in his catalog of books for a dispensational publishing house. All that to be said, all the experts are telling you this. Are you going to have the determination, the confidence that if the Bible says in Genesis chapter 1, all this was created in 6 literal days, are you going to walk by sight, what you're being told, what you maybe think you're seeing? Hey, look at the level of the rocks there. I mean, that tells you right there. I mean, that's millions of years right there, those rocks being stacked on top of each other. Ignore the trees that we find growing through those levels that seem to contradict our view. Ignore all that. Ignore the wide flaws in radiometric dating, but trust what you see. Or are you going to walk by faith? And you're going to trust what Scripture testifies of. So, a faith being stronger is not the merit for being right. So, I'm going to be super conservative today, okay? For all of the covenant theologians who want to sneer and har at simple-minded dispensationalists, at the very least, acknowledge that, hey, they believe their Bibles. And I know they would say they believe their Bibles too. And they have their own reasons and justifications for taking their covenant theology view. But they believe their Bibles. And they believe that one day Christ will come and reign physically on the earth again. And there will be a literal day in which the wolf lies down with the lamb. And the lion will eat straw like an ox. And the child will play near the adder, and he will not be harmed. Give them some credit, because they do have a lot of strong faith. And the world that we live in today doesn't look like those things will happen. But I think it's going to happen. I'm convinced. I think that there's a future day when we read Revelation. I think that stars will fall. Stars are hundreds of thousands of times larger than the earth. I'm like, how can they fall to the earth? I don't know. Maybe it's meteors breaking up and it's shooting stars. That's what we call them. And meteors aren't stars. Or maybe we're wrong about the stars. Now I'm really sound like a crazy person, right? Maybe some of them are really big, but maybe some of them aren't. Maybe we don't know near as much as we think we do. I don't know. Science has been wrong a lot of times. Neil deGrasse Tyson, who is considered this great genius, he defends gender ideology, all right? I don't feel compelled to just believe whatever he's telling me about astronomy while he's telling me that men can actually be women, all right? Call me crazy, call me a kook, but I think it's worth at least acknowledging. One day, I believe that the water will be turned to blood, that the great river Euphrates will be opened up, and there will be a demonic army described as having tails like scorpions, the appearance of locusts, tormenting men for 5 months. How can you believe it? The Bible tells me. Go ahead and laugh at me if you want. And I've seen a lot of covenant theologians, like Eschatology Matters, some of those, make fun of dispensations, like, oh, they think it's Apache helicopters. How silly are they? Those goofy little dispensationalists. You know, I don't think they're Apache helicopters. I'm even crazier than that. Because I think it's actually like an army, like weird demonic horses and real, like they have like faces of men and the hair of women, and I'm just taking it for what it says. I know there could be a lot of language in there to consider, but I believe it. I believe it could be real. That's actually what they're going to look like. I mean, I believe it's real regardless. I just have a faith that allows for it. But a lot of covenant theology says, no, that can't happen. No, there can be no future revelation. No, there can be no actual one world order of the Antichrist. Can't happen. Why? Just can't. And I think maybe they want to present the Bible as believable. So they don't want to hold to too outlandish of a view. That's why, apologists like William Lane Craig, like he buys into the age of the earth and a lot of things. I think he feels the pressure that he has to, because otherwise he'll have to just be debating that the whole time than like other things. I think William Lane Craig would rather debate the moral argument, the Kalam cosmological argument, the teleological argument, as opposed to having to spend all of his time defending 6,000 years of history. So give dispensationalists a little bit of credit. Heck, they've got some strong faith. You may want to laugh at them, but I'm proud to be one of them. All right, let me put it that way. Okay, after a little bit of a heavy discussion there, and I appreciate it. Y'all had a lot of really good things to say. I see a couple comments I liked. Alan says, don't forget New Cairo. Let me just Google that really quickly. So New Cairo, satellite city within the, within Egypt. When was it built? The city was established in 2000 by merging 3 new towns. Interesting. So, cities get built all the time. Just look at Texas, all right? Our good friend Kurt and Paul and others who, there was a time when McKinney, Texas was cow pasture. That's what it was. General store, maybe. Gas station. Mom and pop hardware store. Now, McKinney, Texas is the hub of a lot of things going on, businesses going on in Texas. So, cities get built all the time. They really do. Pause. Alan says Pluto's a planet. That's right. It is. And it's probably going to fall to the earth in the last days. Paul says, Mark, I would be curious what you think of John Barnett. He's a dispensationalist and seems to be pretty literal with the word. I've watched a lot of his videos before I found you, and curious. John Barnett. What I'll do is, I don't know anything about John Barnett. I don't know where he's from, what he does. But I'm going to type in John Barnett Bible teaching and see what's going on. I listen to different stuff sometimes when I'm lifting in the mornings and stuff. So John Barnett, I guess this is him right here. 30 plus years. Let's see here. From Dallas Theological Seminary. Dallas Theological Seminary actually used to be very solid. Not quite right dividing, but Louis Sperry Chafer, who I guess was the first president of Dallas Theological Seminary, maybe even been the founder. I don't know. He had a big role to play. He was sniffing right division, guys. He was looking at it and seeing that, yeah, Paul had a unique, distinct ministry to Jewish people. So is that him, Paul, or did I find a lot, because I don't know why it seems like my stream is cutting off. Is it still working? Okay, yeah, we're connected. Anyways, Priscilla Shire and some of those have come out of Dallas Theological Seminary, so that doesn't really bode well. Okay, one more story I want to talk about here. College football. The Tennessee Volunteers no longer have their star quarterback. So Nico Lamalova, I think that's how you say his name. I don't know. No, it's not. Lieva. I don't know where these last names come from. I don't know if that is is he, obviously he is either black or maybe is he Hawaiian? I don't know. I don't know where those names come from. It's 2025. Can we stop being silly? Be like, oh my goodness, he said that people of different ethnicities have strange last names. Yes, okay. It's fine. Key and Peele did a sketch on that, like football players, like all these crazy names, like how you pronounce them. It's kind of funny. I don't know how you say his last name. Anyways, but he is, he's considered by many to be a major draft pick for the NFL soon. I mean, he's really tall. He's got a really good arm. As far as his, knowledge and skill in the field, maybe could be a little bit better. It seems like he doesn't know when to put the fine touch on the pass versus just throwing a rocket. But very interesting. So NIL is destroying college football. I don't know if you know much about the NIL. We've got these 18, 19-year-old kids making hundreds of thousands of dollars. Some of the major ones making millions of dollars. And they're being paid to be called, they're professional athletes is what they are, plain and simple. The whole idea is, name, image, and likeness. They can do commercials. They could, there's video games for college football now, and there was this big suit. Hey, the school's making money off of us. They're profiting off of us, so we should get paid. I thought that y'all were getting paid already because you're getting a scholarship and you're getting your education. Have you seen how expensive all this is? If you got a free ride, that's a major amount of money you're receiving right there. But apparently now they're just being treated like free agents. And long story short, he was really good, pretty good quarterback for him. Tennessee made the playoffs. They weren't great. Imalev, I don't know how you say it. Anyways, apparently, here's what's going on. Okay, so the player who was once cheered and was paid millions before becoming the full-time starter, rather than play out the final season of his deal, which would pay him about $2.2 million. So that was the deal, right? You play one more season for us at Tennessee, go on to the NFL. Rather, he wanted $4 million. He wanted $4 million to play his final year at Tennessee. He's a good player, but he's playing for college. He wanted $4 million. Tennessee said no. We're not going to do it. And credit to Josh Heupel. Josh Heupel, former OU quarterback, the last one, I guess, to win him a national championship. It's unfortunate just the situation and where we're at with Nico, Heupel said. I want to thank him for everything that he's done since he's gotten here. Great appreciation for that side of it. That said, if being the starter and cornerstone of Tennessee with its rich history, its massive fan base, its QB developing head coach, its SEC spotlight and years of familiarity isn't enough without a few more bucks, then so be it. Good for Josh Heupel. Good for Josh Heupel. I think the NIL program as it's being used today is wrong. It is teaching kids to have no loyalty. And NIL is ruining college football. So here's how things used to be. The college football programs was to be the means by which you made it to the NFL, right? Or you got your education paid for, right? Also, good credentials if you want to be a coach at some time in the future, whatever. And success mattered. And you could build up programs because kids went to school for 4 years. So when you got a promising freshman, you developed him, and he played for you. And that's why schools that were kind of in the middle of nowhere, Oklahoma, Nebraska, schools like that, were highly successful and beat schools that were in metropolitan hubs, because what mattered was they were building players. They were developing programs. There was probably a little bit of under the table money going on back then. There's always been stuff like that. But It wasn't the millions that we're seeing today. Now, it's no loyalty. It's just give me money, give me money, give me money. And these schools are now paying for players. Texas fans. Paul, are you a Texas fan? Kurt? Some others of you who are maybe in Texas. Texas has been experiencing a little bit more success lately. Success in football, baseball, some other sports as well. You're all great. All of you Texans are. Can I say the blunt truth? Of course Texas is doing good. They have a bunch of money. And when you have a bunch of money, you can pay players. So yeah, they're able to pay high NIL. I'm from Oklahoma. Oklahoma has a rich history of being very good at football. I'm just seeing the writing on the wall, folks. Oklahoma is in a little bit of trouble. You know why? Because Oklahoma don't have Texas money. Nebraska does not have Texas money. They don't have USC money. They don't have Notre Dame money. They don't have Alabama, Georgia money. Ohio State, they pay more than many NFL teams do. It's just a shame that this is what college football is now. It's nothing more than just another professional league for football. And the days of your universities being able to develop young players, because here's the thing. Oklahoma could have a promising quarterback who is really good. And if Texas, Tennessee, somebody else waves enough money, they could get him to leave. Take a better deal. Transfer portal. Go somewhere else. There's no loyalty more. And what is that teaching our young people? I mean, used to, that even in professional sports, for the most part, you played for your team. And it wasn't that long ago. Michael Young was basically a career Texas Ranger. He did like one season with the Dodgers. They shouldn't have done that. The Rangers should have kept him, but for whatever reason. Michael Young was a career Texas Ranger. George Brett, I'm pretty sure, was a career Royals. Like there used to be loyalty to teams. Mike Trout is a rare one. The Angels are terrible. The Rangers are not good right now either. But Mike Trout has been on that team and faithful to his team. That's just how things used to be. You just played for your team. It wasn't all about chasing the next best, deal in town. It's American culture nowadays, right? And so there's even talk about high school kids getting NIL. What do you think that's going to do? When the transfer portal hits, it'll just be free range. It's already bad enough. So many schools can't develop because if you live over here and then there's a better school over here, you just move to go to that school and you're never able to be competitive. It's not fun. What happened to loyalty? Like, I'm from this town, I'm from this state, or this school is the one that gave me this scholarship, or this is the league that drafted me, or this is the team that drafted me. I'm going to be committed. And I'm going to play for them. And I'm willing to take a pay cut to play and be loyal to my team. It's just sad. It makes me depressed that, this is where we are now. I was only going to get $2.2 million to play college football for my final season. I want $4 million. Good for Josh Heupel. Good for him not putting up with it. All right? Good for him not putting up with it. My mom mentioned softball. She's a big OU fan. OU is still holding strong in softball. They got to get all this figured out. Come on now. Can't lose to Alabama twice. So they better get hot at the right time. NIL money, though, it is mostly going to go to things like football. Because football is a big moneymaker, to be honest. Basketball will make a little bit of money. The thing that's tough about the other outdoor sports is people don't like to be outside. So it's much easier to sit in an air-conditioned basketball gym than it is to sit out there. And then football, there's only so many games, so you can be willing to weather the weather, where it's not as tough as we used to be. Luke says, by the way, I was looking at Oklahoma State's wrestling roster, and there's a kid on there from Durant, Oklahoma. Cool. Very interesting. Mark, you ought to find him this summer and make sure he's not slipping into Calvinism. Yeah, hopefully he's got some kind of theology, and hopefully it's not Calvinism. I think Mom would say OU does have a promising quarterback that is really good. His name is John Mater. I think that's how you say it. I'm hoping. Got to win the Red River Shootout this year. Cannot let Texas win back-to-back years. They're already insufferable. All right. Well, that's my discussion for the day. Hey, I appreciate all of you who were there with us, whether you agreed or not. I noticed that we had Jacob with us. Jacob, I think you've joined us before. If you're still watching, I'm not sure if you're still with us or not. Jacob, did you send me an email the other day? I got an email from someone, and it may have been from you. And if it's from you, I will absolutely... No, it's not from you, Jacob, I don't think. Maybe it was. I'll check and see. No, it's not. From somebody else. You're not from New York City, are you? But anyway, but thanks for watching, Jake. Great to have you. All right, everybody. Well, I think I'm done. Tomorrow we'll talk about that show, Adolescence. I'm going to be talking more about the cultural things surrounding it and its false narrative. I haven't watched the show, but I know enough to know that it's not good. Hey, everybody, thank you so much for watching Shields and Arrows. Glad to have you with us today. We're going to work on getting updated on our sermons. I'll reteach some of those so you'll be able to have access to them. I'm sorry about some of our recording issues, but you continue to be patient with us. Thank you for sticking it out. You guys are great. Thank you. Have a good one.